So we do have an acknowledgement that we want to start sharing at the beginning of each meeting. So we'll play the acknowledgement. Is it coming through?
Unless you intended a very foreboding beginning for the first 15 seconds, I don't think it's coming through.
Can all of you hear the announcement or no?
Oh.
Wow. Strange.
Linda, probably when you, or sorry, Lorraine, probably when you shared your screen, did you click the share sound in the bottom left corner?
Oh, Mamoon is sharing his screen, so.
Oh, okay, wrong person.
Have you done that? So I am seeing us instead of the screen, Mamoon.
Okay.
The joys of the first time through this part.
Yeah.
Yeah, family Zoom with my 76-year-old dad every week, and it's this every single week.
Tech acknowledges that our hubs are situated on the Haldimand Tract.
Can you hear now?
Land that was promised to the Haudenosaunee of the Six Nations of the Grand River, and are within the traditional territory of the neutral Anishinaabe and Haudenosaunee peoples. As participants in today's event, we are coming together from many different places. We encourage you to learn about and acknowledge the land in which you participate. We will not stop fostering an anti-racist environment to create a place and space where everyone is free to be their whole selves. Our commitment to building a community rooted in inclusion and equity will never waver, and it will mean listening and learning as we go. Everyone on our team and within our community receives the same respect and opportunity regardless of age, ethnicity, gender, culture, identity, beliefs, or language.
We just have a message on the screen here as well that we'll just give you a moment to read. And it's just for the Here 24/7 for those that are on the phone, that there is a 247.ca website and a phone number, 1HERE247, that connects you with services immediately in crisis situations and provides support if you don't know what you need. So that's to help with any mental health that you may want some help with. Okay, I'll pass it over to you, Mamoon.
Thank you, Lauren. Okay, so maybe you are, all of you are aware about this Agile 20 Reflect Festival. So around the world, we are celebrating 20 years of Agile Manifesto. And today we are also conducting this session in support of this Agile 20 Reflect Festival. In February 2021, around the world, more than 700 events we are organizing to support this Agile 20 Reflect Festival. Now, I would like to introduce our today's speaker. Today's speaker is Savita Pahuja. Savita is an Agile coach, mentor, and trainer. She has experience working in different industries from startup to big financial organizations. Her coaching spectrum involves team coaching, executive coaching, and facilitation of different type of workshops. Savita is a certified enterprise coach and certified team coach from Scrum Alliance. And also she has the associate certified coach certification from International Coach Federation, ICF. So please welcome today's speaker, Savita. Savita, over to you.
Thank you, Mamoon. Good to see everyone here. And I'm happy to be part of Agile 20 Reflect Festival. And I have been attending some of the sessions. It's pretty exciting to hear the history of Agile in last 20 years and how it evolved. So my topic for today is about unlearning and how unlearning supports the Agile transformation. So this is my personal experience from last few years. What has been happening is that I'm working with more and more people who claim to know Agile, but they are full with some of the myths or misunderstandings. So I was thinking that initially when we started working in Agile way of working, we have been into this situation that people did not know about Agile. And 20 years ago, we were just introducing Agile to different organizations. People started working on it. So there was a change, there was a mind shift required from our traditional way of working to Agile way of working. And now in 20 years, we are working with organizations and people who have their traditional mindset, as well as their own experience of working in Agile projects or products or programs. So they come with their own baggage. So now we are dealing with double the baggage. That's my opinion is. And that's how I came up with this topic. And I'm very passionate about understanding how human brain works and how it helps in our Agile transformation or the change in behaviors, and how we can use some of the science in dealing with our day-to-day challenges. So it's going to be a very interactive session. I have only 6 or 7 slides. So I time to time unshare my screen and start having conversation here. So feel free to join, and you can ask your questions or write your comments on the chat, or you can just unmute yourself and start the dialogue. So okay, let me know if you can see the screen properly. Okay, what help would be required from you, Mamoon, or someone else? If anyone writes anything on the chat, please read out for me. It would be really helpful during the session. Yeah.
I will do it, Savita. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So we will talk about the art of unlearning, or I would say art and science of unlearning, and how we can make this conscious choice for successful Agile transformation. So I was sharing about our 20 years of journey from 2001 to 2021. In the beginning, when we got our Agile Manifesto. So I think 2 weeks ago, I was attended that session where we had all the Agile Manifesto authors in the panel discussion. It was Scrum Alliance, so it was a gathering. And what struck out for me was that in the beginning, in 2001, they thought about Agile as people-oriented principles and values. And that, I think, is one of the reasons why we don't have to change Agile Manifesto, because it's still people-oriented. It still makes sense. It's just about how do we inbuild this thinking of people orientation into our day-to-day work. So if we closely look into our first principle, it's about individuals and interactions over processes and tools. So Agile is all about being. It's not about only practices. And when we are talking about being or people orientation, it has a big relationship with people, how people behave, how we tackle change, how we actually shift our mindset and think from a different perspective. So what happened in last 20 years, I have not been working in Agile work from last 20 years. I have like 12 years of experience, 7 to 8 years in Agile, so feel free to chime in. I'm sharing my opinion here is that when we started working in Agile and different organizations, we came up with some successes. Some of the organizations or products or maybe small teams, they were successful while working in Agile or using any of the Agile frameworks. Some of the organizations are still in the hybrid mode. Some are still learning, because Agile is all about continuous improvement and retrospect, inspect and adapt. So we are still learning. But along the way, what happened is that we have many traditional practices still in our organizations that might not be helpful. We came up with so many myths around transformation, and we build our assumptions along the way. And based on those assumptions, we built some of the biases in our mind. And these biases, myths, and assumptions are becoming a roadblock for our further improvement and learning. So that's how I share the story of Agile Manifesto in last 20 years. And I think you might have been hearing as well that some of the organizations are in second wave or third wave of transformation. So we keep on trying, but to make it successful, really go deeper, we have to look more into our behavioral aspect. What goes in on our mind, what goes on our thinking behind different principles or practices. So having said that, we know that there are a few things which we have to continue working on. We have to continue learning new things, but learning is not only about acquiring new knowledge. What we have to do is that unlearn some of the myths or old behaviors or biases or assumptions that come in our way of moving forward in Agile transformation. So I would like to hear from the group. You may write on the chat or you can speak out loud. What are the things you think we should unlearn to have more successful Agile transformations? Feel free to write on chat or share your thoughts.
So
Sorry
some
for
comment.
that. Mm-hmm.
Are you reading, Savita, the comments? So there are some comments like, we were treated as resources and this kills any desire to work. It kills any spark in eyes. The
Mm.
bottom line view of organization makes people resources.
Yeah. And I think this is a really good point when we are talking about people orientation and being treated as resources, or sometimes we also treat other people as objects or resources. So we have to unlearn this behavior. We have to unlearn that people are people are not resources. So thanks for sharing that. The next point is about things we learned when we were child and we still bear as adult. I'm curious to know what kind of things that we learned in our childhood. It's not helpful anymore. Bertrand, you would like to share? I can also share. I have so many things which I learned in childhood. I wish I should unlearn them.
There are so many things, and actually I cannot think about a single one at the moment. But if you have one, please share.
I can quickly share something. Just being new to Agile, right? When I recognize like things that you need to unlearn is when you are so familiar to a waterfall like methodology, and you also like planning and an extensive timeline and all those things, right? That it worked at certain time in the past, but now that we have to change the pace of transformation and changes, even though you are trying to get in that agile mode, sometimes in my personal opinion, I tend to go like be dragged back and says, okay, maybe this thing we need to plan it ahead. And then you later realize, okay, no, we are following a waterfall methodology here when it's not exactly what we are trying to achieve. So it just happened to me because I'm new, just started experiencing agile methodology, that it's easy to get back the way that we worked before, right?
Yeah, I see in many projects, people come up with like fixed budget, fixed timeline, fixed scope project plan, and then say that we want to be agile, let's run the sprints. We have to unlearn our way of creating project plans. Only then, when we have the black slate, we can be more creative around how to look the plan differently while having the agile mindset in place. So this is a good one. So I think I would like to go back to the previous comment around there are some things which we learned in our childhood. Maybe after that, when we started working in our corporate organizations, things like sharing your opinion first. So many people think if you speak the most in the meeting, you will be recognized as the core contributor, or you will be seen as the smart person. And in Agile, it's all about collaboration. So listen more, give everyone chance to speak. And particularly when you are working as a leader, then speak the last sometimes. Let others share the opinion first. And we learned this skill, I don't know when, in our childhood or university days or in our corporate world. But this is really killing of building the good collaborative work environment, which deserves some unlearning.
Savita, there are 3 more comments. Agile means less administration. Some of our developers think they can spend more time coding and less time managing their work. And the third one is plans are always throw away, but planning is indispensable.
Yeah, I love all these comments. Plans are lies. There is value in planning, continuous planning.
There is another feedback, Savita. There is no habit of asking what is the physical meaning of these words among street smart business suites.
I love all of your comments. So I think we have figured out that there are a few things which we realized that we have to unlearn. So let's see an interesting thing about unlearning. So I will share an experiment which was done by Dustin. He is a person living in Amsterdam, and I think 8 years ago, he ran an experiment on the bike. Any one of you have seen his experiment? How to ride an inverted bike?
Smarter Every Day. Yeah, it was
Smart
really
every
good.
day. Yeah. Let me share, and hopefully you can. Can you see the YouTube video? YouTube screen?
Smarter every day. You've heard people say it's just like riding a bike, meaning it's really easy and you can't forget how to do it, right? But I did something. I did something that damaged my mind. It happened on the streets of Amsterdam, and I got really scared, honestly. I can't ride a bike like you can anymore. Before I show you the video of what happened, I need to tell you the backstory. Like many 6-year-olds with a MacGyver mullet, I learned how to ride a bike when I was really young. I had learned a life skill and I was really proud of it. Everything changed though when my friend Barney called me 25 years later. Where I work, the welders are geniuses and they like to play jokes on the engineers. He had a challenge for me. He had built a special bicycle and he wanted me to try to ride it. He had only changed one thing. When you turn the handlebar to the left, the wheel goes to the right. When you turn it to the right, the wheel goes to the left. I thought this would be easy, so I hopped on the bike ready to demonstrate how quickly I could conquer this.
And here he is, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Destin Sandlin. First attempt riding the bicycle.
All right. So the faster I go, the better. Yeah.
I couldn't do it. You can see that I'm laughing, but I'm actually really frustrated. In this moment, I had a really deep revelation. My thinking was in a rut. This bike revealed a very deep truth to me. I had the knowledge of how to operate the bike, but I did not have the understanding. Therefore, knowledge is not understanding. Look, I know what you're probably thinking. Destin's probably just an uncoordinated engineer and can't do it. But that's not the case at all. The algorithm that's associated with riding a bike in your brain is just that complicated. Think about it. Downwards force on the pedals, leaning your whole body, pulling and pushing the handlebars, gyroscopic precession in the wheels, every single force is part of this algorithm. And if you change any one part, it affects the entire control system. I do not make definitive statements that often, but I'm telling you right now, you cannot ride this bicycle. You might think you can, but you can't. I know this because I'm often asked to speak at universities and conferences and I take the bike with me. It's always the same. People think they're going to try some trick or they're just going to power through it. It doesn't work. Your brain cannot handle this. For instance, this guy, I offered him $200 just to ride this bike 10 feet across the stage. Everybody thought he could do it.
No, you didn't understand. You didn't understand. So, this way. Okay. All right, just a second. All right, so, whenever you're ready, yeah. Wait. No, you have to keep your feet on. Dude, all right, here we go. Wait. Like, you gotta start rolling at least. And go. Oh, go! All right, back up. Okay, keep your feet on the pedal. Go. Go right off. Just keep your feet on the pedals. Hands on. Yeah, come on. All right, one more time. Okay.
Once you have a rigid way of thinking in your head, sometimes you cannot change that, even if you want to. So here's what I did. It was a personal challenge. I stayed out here in this driveway and I practiced about 5 minutes every day. My neighbors made fun of me. I had many wrecks, but after 8 months, this happened. One day I couldn't ride the bike and the next day I could. It was like I could feel some kind of pathway in my brain that was now unlocked. It was really weird though. It's like there's this trail in my brain, but if I wasn't paying close enough attention to it, my brain would easily lose that neural path and jump back onto the old road it was more familiar with. Any small distractions at all, like a cell phone ringing in my pocket, would instantly throw my brain back to the old control algorithm and I would wreck. But at least I could ride it. My son is the closest person to me genetically, and he's been riding a normal bike for 3 years. That's over half his life. I wanted to know how long it would take him to learn how to ride a backwards bike, so I told him if he learned how to ride a backwards bike, he could go with me to Australia and meet a real astronaut. Are you gonna give up?
No.
Go ahead. This is how it starts. Look at this. This is such a big deal. Get up, you got it. Did you see his brain get it? So in how many weeks have we been doing this? 2 weeks? In 2 weeks, he did something that took me 8 months to do, which demonstrates that a child has more neuroplasticity, am I even saying that right, than an adult. It's clear from this experiment that children have a much more plastic brain than adults. That's why the best time to learn a language is when you're a young child. All right, today's bike log. I can ride smooth, I can ride fast. I'm thinking the experiment is over. Okay, now I'm in Amsterdam, a city that has more bicycles than people. The question is, can I ride a normal bike now? I mean, I've spent all this time unlearning how to ride a bike. If I go back and try to ride a normal one, will my brain mess up? So I've tweeted a Smarter Everyday meetup, if you will, and I'm gonna see if somebody brings a bicycle and I'm gonna try to ride a normal bike. It's backwards, it's backwards. This was one of the most frustrating moments of my life. I had ridden a normal bike since I was 6, but in this moment, I couldn't do it anymore. I had set out to prove that I could free my brain from a cognitive bias. But at this point, I'm pretty sure that all I proved is that I could only redesignate that bias. So what you're not seeing is just a group of people here looking at me, looking at the strange American that can't ride a bike because they think I'm dumb. But I'm actually 2 levels deep into this because I've learned and unlearned. All right. After 20 minutes of making a fool out of myself, suddenly my brain clicked back into the old algorithm. I can't explain it, but it happened in a very specific moment. I got it. I'm back. Oh, it clicked. Hold it, it clicked. I got it. Okay, there it is. There was the moment. Okay, I can ride a bike. I tried to explain this to the people around me, and they just didn't get it. They thought I was faking the previous 20 minutes, and I couldn't get anybody to believe me. That looked like I faked that, didn't it? Yeah. Just a fake. You think I'm faking. You don't believe me. That looks so weird. You were like, la, and it's full. You think I'm lying, don't you? I'm not lying. I felt like the only person on the planet who had ever unlearned how to ride a bike, and I couldn't articulate it to anyone because everybody just knew that you can't forget how to ride a bike. So I learned 3 things from this experiment. I learned that welders are often smarter than engineers. I learned that knowledge does not equal understanding. And I learned that truth is truth, no matter what I think about it. So be very careful how you interpret things because you're looking at the world with a bias, whether you think you are or not. I'm Destin. You're getting smarter every day. Have a good one.
Okay. So what is your learning from this experiment, this video you just watched?
I think it's how difficult it is for people to unlearn and unteach things, which is a little demotivating.
It's not, yeah, I can understand that because it takes a lot of time, but it requires a lot of conscious effort, definitely. And after that, I'm going to share one of the model from neuroscience that actually help us to do the unlearning. Okay, there is a comment. Unlearning can be very hard. Yes, definitely. What else? What do you think about this experiment, or what is your own personal learning out of it?
So there is another comment, Savita. They thought I am a fool. No, we think always like that, but it is an emotion that doesn't allow us to move on sometimes.
Yes, thank you so much for writing this because it happens to us as well. Being an agile coach, we also think sometimes that why this manager keeps on repeating the same behavior again and again. I shared in the training and I explained multiple times. It's not about people are fool around us. It's more about that if someone has been working in a way for so long, then it becomes so hard to change it overnight. Did I interpret it right, or you wanted to share something else? A different message out of this comment? So I got another message. Demonstrates that keeping an open mind and continue to iterate for continuous improvement is important, as we are set on doing things a certain way, including bad habits and miss in Agile journey. Definitely. So thanks everyone for sharing all of your viewpoints. Let's move on. I have few more things to share. Share my screen again. Just give me a second. Okay, so challenges of unlearning. So very first challenge of unlearning is that we always reject any new concepts or behavior which we think is difficult to change or which is different than our own way of learning. So this, I think, is one of the things which really obstruct us in moving forward. So there are other things. It's hard, as some of you have mentioned. Sometimes we think that it's not much important. It's not that important that I should put my effort into changing one of my behavior. And sometimes our myths and assumptions come into way in a way like we think this is the right thing to do, and we never think that maybe this requires attention. So one of the example that I shared, like if people keep on thinking that speaking most in any meeting will give them high rewards, then they won't change their behavior of listening more. And it's not only about them, it's about the environment we build into. So if we have individual performance reviews and the leaders look for this behavior, then somewhere someone has this myth, and we have to really get into this and show the mirror that this is the kind of behavior which is becoming a roadblock in having good collaborative work environment. Then some people are not interested. Why, after working for 20-25 years in organizations, why would I change my behavior? There is no interest, no motivation. Some people think that it's not essential. We ignore till to the point that we can keep on going and doing our job, getting the salary. So there is an ignorance part as well. And there is some rejection if things are different than how we think. So after learning all these things, why unlearning is important, why it's so hard. So there has been a lot of research into how our brain learn and unlearn any concept, any behavior or practice. So in very basic terms, if you see the first picture, our brain is made up of multiple neurons. and each neuron is connected with other neurons. So all these orange lines, these shows the connections between different neurons. And neuroscientists have long believed that learning and memory formation are made by strengthening and weakening of those connections in our brain cells. And they have actually proved it via different experiments. So recently what happened in University of California's Irwin Center for Neurobiology of Learning and Memory, they proved this while doing an experiment on mice. So they were able to isolate and observe the actions of the brain while learning a new task. So researchers found that when two neurons frequently interact, means if you are repeating one behavior again and again, that means in your brain, your neurons are interacting more often. So if you are doing that, they form a bond that allows them to transmit more easily and accurately. So it becomes effortless for you. So for example, if you are walking down the street and you see there is a red signal, you will just stop. So you don't have to learn this behavior anymore because you have done it multiple times and now it has become effortless reaction for your brain. So in our workplace, there are certain behaviors we have been doing for so long that it has become so effortless for us to get into this loophole of repeating this unconsciously. So this leads to creating new memories, and we keep on repeating this behavior. Versus if there are some practice or behavior which is new, which you are trying to learn, or maybe you went to a training and you learned that, okay, Agile works in a different way. Now I would like to behave differently. But because it has not been put into practice, in our brain, we don't have those connections between those neurons very well ingrainedly managed. So it's new. So when you start working differently, the new connections will be created. And when you keep on practicing, it will become as strong and strengthened as your old behaviors. Okay? So this is the whole science behind how our brain actually learn or unlearn and relearn new concepts or new practice or new behavior. So it goes a lot into learning and unlearning. It's not easy just to say that, hey, being a good Agile coach, listen more, have a better way of asking questions, or don't share your opinions right away. But it comes with a lot of practice so that our brain have those neurons and connections in place that will make it effortless. Okay. So I will share one model, which is the last thing about today's presentation. This is the neuroscience model. It's called FEED model. And F talks about putting the focus. Focus is paying attention to desired thinking or behavior. So observe and consciously try it. And it will activate more significant parts of your brain to work on that particular behavior. So for example, you want to consciously observe other coaches or a very good facilitator, how that person facilitate meetings very well, or to some good leaders or scrum masters, and then start believing in the new mindset. So if you are in the action and it becomes hard for you to put in focus, then you can retrospect. So for example, I know that I talked about self-reflection for agile coaches in another meetup. So what happens is that when we start learning agile coaching, so we learn that, okay, this is different than consulting. We have to ask more questions and share less of our opinion. If you want to focus on this behavior, there are certain techniques which you can use. So maybe during the conversation, you can keep taking notes or mark how many times you asked question versus you shared your opinion. If it's too hard for you, then you can self-reflect after the conversation so that you can put focus on this. So once you start focusing on the behaviors that you would like to change, then only it will activate the certain memory area in your brain, which will help to actually bring the change easily. So first thing, focus. Next thing, putting the effort. It requires conscious effort. So change your attention towards your action. It will help you activate new connections between neurons. Putting the effort, like I know some of the Scrum Masters, they actually help their team members to point out their behaviors for their own growth. Or if you are in this journey alone, then you can actually put more effort by blocking some time to practice new thing, or you pair up with people, like learning about coaching or asking powerful questions. People do peer coaching, so they put effort, they practice. And after some time, like in the distance bike experiment, you will see that it will become effortless for you. So it will come like intuitive, it will come just in the moment. And all these things require a lot of, all these things require a lot of determination. Okay, so if you lose the determination in the process, whether it takes few days or months, you won't be able to change the behavior. And this is the most critical thing. I see people, they become so enthusiastic after attending any agile course, and they say that, hey, I am going to work on these things. I will change the world. I will change my team. How is it working? But along the way, they lose the determination and they are back to zero. And that's why we keep on hearing that our agile transformations are not sustainable, because we lose the determination along the journey. So people fall back to their own old behaviors. Okay? So this is the model which I wanted to share. Now, I'm open if you have any questions with respect to this model, and what do you think, how you can use it in your day-to-day life? Reinforcement and conditioning is required. Yes.
No, what I mean, what happens is reinforcement. That's exactly what happens. What you're explaining with the neural connections, and so it requires deliberate putting yourself in a setting, in a context where your brain will capture a lot of these implicit signals that you would need when you will need to use those skills. So you got a lot of work done. For example, it could be as simple as sitting somewhere without any distractions, but it could also be, let's say you're practicing shooting under huge stress. You will put put yourself under stress and then practice there at some
Yeah.
point, of course, when you get mature. And then the reinforcement is exactly what you explained. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I love that one. Turn off Twitter to have a chance to having focus. I would say turn off all your social media apps because you need attention from your brain to focus on something or some behavior. But if you are multitasking, then it becomes so hard to focus on one thing. So definitely. And I know I attended this course. It's not related to this topic. It's just about science of well-being from Yale University. It has become so popular during COVID, how to take care about yourself. I strongly recommend this course is available on Coursera if you're interested. And the professor shared about limiting the social media apps to take care about yourself or work on your well-being. And I tried this. I deleted my Facebook app from my phone. I deleted my Twitter and LinkedIn from my phone. So my phone is just for calling and WhatsApp. And I felt like so free because I started spending so much of time on social media. And doing this along with other work I was doing, and I was literally losing the focus. And moreover to that, there is so much data out there. It's hard for new people to understand what is the right agile practice, what's not. Everyone is sharing their own opinion. So it's full of myths and opinions. So there's nothing wrong about it, but you have to limit it so that you can experience and experiment and build your own experiences. Okay.
Savita, there is a question. Do you have any suggestions for the first step to unlearning?
So first step to unlearning is to find out what do you want to unlearn. And if you come up with a list, then prioritize, focus on one behavior at a time, and give yourself enough time to unlearn one thing and then jump to the another one. So this is my suggestion. Okay, what else we got on our chat? So Mike is sharing, be patient and forgiving to you and those you are coaching, leading as unlearning, learning takes time. Yes. Ask PM to push dash on Facebook. Okay, no comments on this part. So I wrote one article on Medium, which has more details about this topic. If you are interested, you can read about it, which is on the similar line. And I'm very, very much interested on hearing if you are interested into looking from the science perspective, how the behavior change happen, and you have something to share and connect with me. Feel free to bug me on LinkedIn or give me a message or call me, whatever suits you. I'm open for exchanging ideas. So I will share my contact details on the chat as well, so that we can stay in touch.
There's a little bit of fun in the chat that you might enjoy.
Okay, read out for me.
It's just people noting that if you're not having social media on your phone, how can they reach you?
I use my laptop, but I limit my time because if I'm watching TV just for entertainment or doing exercise or anything, I don't have to look onto the phone. So I will reply you back in 24 hours, but I won't reply you back right away.
All right. Any other comments you wanted to make? Questions from people?
On this idea of unlearning in the context of a transformation, is then the suggestion then not to do kind of a big bang of, you know, a big change from waterfall to agile, and kind of lap in components of it and grow it up so you can maintain focus until you make it effortless?
So my own style of doing transformation is to do the pilot with the small teams and maybe some part of the product, and then move on from there. So if you can build a really strong team and then you scale up, it's more beneficial. But I have seen some organizations go big bang. Everyone just follow the same pattern. There are some success stories out there as well, but I was never personally part of big bang transformation approach. Yeah, I always go by baby steps.
Thank you.
Just giving people a moment or so.
Yeah.
Before I drop out, I gotta say that I always enjoy Savita's talks and exercises and practice, coaching practices very, very much. There's a lot of solid scientific underpinnings to everything she teaches.
Thanks, Maru. So this is a big comment for me. I'm so of the logical person that it became so hard for me to go through this coaching journey and learning coaching, because it talks a lot about feelings, the emotions, and being a science student and being a very logical, rational person, I needed to go through all the science behind our human behavior and brain. And only then I was able to grasp all these concepts. So it's just my personal style of learning, and it might make sense for some other people who are like me, science students, maths students, who like to see the reasoning and logic behind different concepts.
So in your experience, what parts of Agile have you unlearned and relearned differently that has helped you progress?
So one of the things, so I'm being vulnerable in front of everyone and on recording. When I started doing Agile coaching, my behavior was like, okay, I shared you these concepts in the training, why you don't get it? So I was being impatient with people in the beginning, and I was really, really so passionate about Agile that I was seeing things right and wrong. But over the time, I learned that there is nothing right and wrong. It's about people take time to go through this journey and they build their own experiences. Okay. And being a coach, I should be in partnership with them to give them enough time for their own growth. So that's my job. My job is not just to tell people you are wrong, or you are doing anything wrong. So for me, I have to shift my behavior of being impatient to being patient, and my own personal goal of being in partnership with people in their own growths so that I can grow and they can grow. It was a big shift for me.
All right. All right, then. Thank you kindly, Savita, for this talk today. It is quite appreciated. I did want to call out the next session at the end of March on the 30th will be embedding privacy in product development with Chris Wilshire giving the talk. Hi, thank you, Mamoon. And the other one that we wanted to call out is that the leadership group is looking for a volunteer to join the leadership team for next year. So if you've ever thought about being involved at a leadership level with a peer-to-peer team, please reach out to myself, Mamoon, Lorraine, any one of us, and have a chat with us. Talk to us about what what's involved. And with that said, I believe we can wrap it up for tonight. Thank you.
And I just asked this is my very first meetup.
Of course, Jason.
Is the recording of this available? Is a way to kind of reach out to the attendees?
So I will share the recording presentation deck with all the attendees, and we have a Slack channel also, and you can communicate with all the co-organizers through Slack channel. So I will send out the Slack channel link also.
Okay, great. Thank
you. I was just about to dig that one out, but if you're going to send it, Mamoon, so much the better.
Thank you.
Neil, before you go, I was got a little curious about the opportunity, the volunteer opportunity that you spoke about. How can I find more information on that?
The way is probably best is just to chat with any one of us.
Okay.
If anybody's curious about chatting about it, just hang on here for a few minutes. We'll give people a chance to drop off and we can keep chatting.
I'll stay on. Thank you.
Anyone else? Questions, last minute pieces they'd like to bring up? Okay. Well, thanks for joining us tonight, folks.
Thank you so much. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
So, Parag?
The second one sounded better.
Parag? Okay. Always the fun of it, trying to get especially the vowels, because vowels shift language over language.
I know.
The investment for the organizers is right now we have a team of 3. One of us is ready to step back. It's better when you turn over the team rather than doing a 100% turnover, doing it a step at a time.
Mm-hmm.
So the involvement is basically the team meets about once a month for an hour or two outside of these meetings to look into, who we need to set up, reaching out to speakers, ranging who's going to do, who's going to run the icebreakers, who's going to do the wrap up, who's going to do the introductions.
Mm-hmm.
That seems to be the majority of it for the various groups that I've worked with over time. The real difficult part is making sure you've got the speakers ready to go, right? And staying on top of that list.
Mm-hmm.
If you've got a good sized team, 2, 3, 4 people is a good sized team, they're able to swap off so that you don't need to come to every one of the talks yourself, right?
Mm-hmm.
Your partners can take care of it for you, but also it's ideas, new ideas for things to try. Icebreakers are new this year, for example. It may or may not work, any given idea, any given speaker, but having multiple voices raising different ideas helps spread the load and helps increase the diversity of the results you get.
I hear you. Yeah. Am I audible to you, Neil?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
I was just giving people a minute or so to think about it and see whether there are other questions or thoughts.
Sure.
Okay. As I say, Lorraine, Mamoon, and I are around if anybody wants to follow up even further, or if specific questions come to your minds. Please do reach out and chat with us either here or on the Slack. We tend to follow along and make sure we're available for people there.
Yep. Neil, it sounds like a good opportunity for me to explore. I don't know. I would like to know the next steps.
Okay. Let me jot down a name so that we have that handy.
Sure.
Hideo. Okay. What we'll do as a group is we'll just reach out to you and see about getting you involved. There's a couple of natural breakpoints. This year wraps up with a June session. Oh, sorry, got wrong name. Thank you, Adeo. That's appreciated. So one of the logical options for reaching out would be to take over come, as we wrap up this year and go into next year. We can also get you involved a little bit earlier as well. So look for an email. Is your email available on Meetup so that we can grab a copy of it?
It should be. Let me double check, or I can type
Throw
it
it in the
here.
Slack and I can write it down.
Yeah, sure. Or why don't you make a note of it? It's quicker. You see my last name, Maru, Maru. So it's last name, first name @gmail.com.
Okay.
maruparag@gmail.com.
Got it. All right. Then we'll look to send you an email and see about getting you more involved.
That'd be great. Thanks, Neil and Namu.
All right. We'll see you folks.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Have a good
Take care.
night. Bye.